It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Darin Kerns, who is a Florida State Seminoles equipment manager for football. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Can you talk about how you started being a football equipment manager?
Sure. I started in high school when I was a freshman in 1981. I played eighth grade football, and I wasn't actually playing much. And I realized that I wasn't going to be seeing the field much because I knew my high school team was pretty good. So I wanted to stay involved and be part of the team. And little did I know that freshman year in my high school, my team would go to the state championship, which made it a lot more fun, and kind of got the bug as a freshman in high school and just continued it in college. Tried 2 years at the University of Missouri, Columbia as a student trainer, and wanted to go more back into equipment. So transferred to University of Missouri, Kansas City for my last few years of college, and then got hooked up with and I worked basketball there, and then got hooked up with the Kansas City Chiefs in 1989 while I still had a couple years of school left, and kept working and going to school, and got hired full time in 91. I got hired full time. So have 18 years of experience in the National Football League at the Chiefs, Bucks, and Ravens, and 14 years in college football. I did 1 year at the University of Minnesota, and then got the job here at Florida State in 2008. But I've been very blessed. I think if there's a mantra for equipment managers, it's kind of like the police, to serve and protect. We serve everybody. There's every single department that is part of football we touch. We are responsible for outfitting everybody from head to toe, and obviously the players, but all the other people that are involved in a football program, we outfit. I also, here at Florida State, I'm kind of the logistics guy for travel, as far as actually taking anything that other departments might need for road games, like video cameras, coolers that the training staff need. All that stuff goes in a semi, and that's kind of my deal. I kind of oversee that as well, and coordinate with the truck driver, set the truck up. And then on the other end, when we go somewhere, I'm the guy, me and a couple of student managers will unpack the truck and have everything ready. So when the team arrives on Friday afternoon, they'll come to the stadium, and everybody will see where their locker is. So there's no confusion on game day, and I'll have that semi unloaded, and we'll be ready to roll into Saturday when we're playing. So that's kind of my role here at Florida State. Hit different roles in the NFL, but essentially football is football, helping, assisting at practice with drills, setting all the equipment needed up for practice on the field up, sleds and step overs and dummies and all that fun stuff, chains that you need for down and distance, all those little details fall under my umbrella. And I've got a incredible staff here of 15 young men that are our student managers that do a wonderful job for me and make it all happen, and they deserve all the credit.
Can you talk about, of course, as you worked with the Kansas City Chiefs, what was some of the things on the NFL side you did as an equipment manager?
The difference is those guys, and it's changed a little bit because the union has really protected how many hours are allowed at the facility now. I think it's between 5 and 6 is all they can be there, counting practice. And there was never that rule when I was there. So guys would get there 6:30, 7 in the morning, and sometimes those guys would leave at 5 or 6 at night. And obviously we got to be the first ones there and the last to leave. So the game's changed a lot. They've allowed a lot more great quality family time for the coaches, staff, and certainly the players in the NFL. But I would say the big thing has been the realization that we need to do something as far as protecting the players a lot better, as far as rules. The equipment has advanced with headgear and helmets and concussion studies and things like that. We're obviously a lot more receptive and knowledgeable about what's going on with the head as far as head injuries. I will say this though, even in high school, when a guy got a concussion, I have never worked on a staff where a coach put somebody back in that got a concussion. So I know it's been a hot button topic the past few years as far as, oh, well, when we heard that if a guy got blacked out or something, we took his helmet. I was told by a medical staff to take his helmet away. That started, even in high school, but certainly at the NFL level with the Chiefs, it happened a couple times. The trainer walk over and say, "Hey, here's so-and-so's helmet. He ain't going back in." So, to insinuate and think that the medical people never did acknowledge that or care is incorrect. Now, we have obviously gotten more knowledge as we've gone on that these take a little longer to heal. We've done some more research and certainly got more effective direct information on how the brain heals. And, it's come a long ways and obviously changed the rules to limit those hits that are really unnecessary to protect the long-term, the long-term health of the players, which is ultimately part of my job as an equipment manager. So that's changed a lot in the NFL since I was there, but I wanted to make sure and talk about that. I've always been proud of the people I've worked with as far as the head injury situation. I feel like for the information we had at the time, our medical staff was doing a fantastic job at every place I've been, all 3 NFL teams and all both stops in college. I feel like really strong that our players' best interest was always being always making decisions in the player's best health interest.
That's amazing. Of course, as the Super Bowl is about to start, can you talk about, of course, what a day in the life as the Super Bowl equipment manager would be?
I came up short by my teams were in it twice. I lost an AFC championship game with the Chiefs, and then I lost one with the Buccaneers to the Rams. But I think certainly this year, I think it's a pretty much normal day. Certainly with them not having to go a week early and hang out at Tampa, it's pretty much, I think the main thing is they want to keep everything pretty much a normal work day, which would consist of players probably showing up by 7, probably having a little breakfast, probably starting meetings about 8, probably on the field by 10:30, and probably off the field by 12:30 is what I'm guessing. And this time of the year, Brandon, nobody's wearing full pads. All that stuff has gone out. The union has done a great job of working with the ownership and the coaches and taking the extra pounding that's not necessary this time of the year. So those players are going to be rested. Their bodies are going to feel good as they possibly can. And the bumps and bruises that used to, 15, 20 years ago, that guys would have to fight through this time of year, they don't have them. And I think it's a lot better. It's a lot better for the quality of the game. Certainly going back to the players' health, it's all about keeping the players safe and letting them have a life after football without aches and pains as much as we can. So I think those guys, I'm friends with both equipment managers, and I've been texting with both of them, and it's a pretty much normal work week for those guys. The Chiefs land in Tampa tomorrow at 3, which is pretty much like a normal road game. Obviously due to COVID is why they're doing all this. But they didn't go down and practice in Tampa. They played down there 8 weeks ago. So they know what the locker room's like. They know what the field's like. They're probably staying at the same hotel as they did. And it's just it's just literally for one night. I don't even know if they're spending the night after the game like they normally do due to COVID. I think they might just be getting on a plane and coming home. So it's pretty much a normal work week, Brandon, which is the first time the Super Bowl has been treated like that. But due to the pandemic, I think it's the wise decision the NFL's made to keep everybody safe and get everybody home. And, for the Buccaneers, if they win, it's going to be great to just go home and they're sleep in their own bed and party all they want. And the Chiefs will be on a plane and be home, within hours after the game, and they'll be able to party as well. So we'll see what happens.
Can you talk about, of course, what your roles were at University of Minnesota?
Basically the same as here. College is a lot more dealing with student athletes. Those guys are like the NFL players. They're limited on how many hours they can be around in the building. They're full-time students, and my staff is full-time students. So not only am I dealing with the players going to class, I deal with the people that are helping me do my job going to class. And it's same here as it was at Minnesota. And you're working with young men that are learning, and young men that want to be educated. They're in college, so dealing with a lot of smart young individuals, and it's a pleasure to teach them about equipment and help work as a team, and have one common goal of being the best we can, best job we can day by day. We just take it day by day.
Can you talk about a course for potential recruits and stuff whenever they're on the official visit? What is the key factors that you play in that?
Well, that's a great question, Brandon. The one of the biggest things these guys want to do is they want to feel like they want to put the uniform on and get a sense of what it's going to feel like to be a Seminole. And we let them try on all different uniform combinations. We have a huge production of taking pictures with them in the uniforms. We give, they get their pictures for social media and all that stuff. So it's a really fun thing. The parents will jump in the pictures and get pictures with them and stuff. And we make it as fun as we can. We just want them to have a good time and realize what being part of the Seminole family is all about.
Can you talk about a course like whenever you do get new football equipment, like let's say Nike or Under Armour sends you stuff? What is that like whenever you get new equipment for your players?
It comes in waves starting about May, and it'll keep coming all the way up until August. We'll get all the stuff that we need for the entire football year, which meaning entire football year is all the way up until May. I have to put the order in for the following year in October. So that's kind of a long lead time to have to order something for October that you're not going to see till May and June, July. But that's how we do it. And obviously there's a lot of excitement when we start camp because everybody starts getting the new stuff, which will be, we start sifting through everything as soon as it comes in. Inventory, we have an inventory system where we put everything in a computer and database, so we know how many of these we got, how many of these we got, and then we match it up with a sizing checklist that we have on everybody, and then we issue gear that way. And then once the players check in for training camp, usually the last week of July, we'll have a backpack of gear for them to get them started. And then as the season goes on, when it gets a little colder, we'll have a hoodie and a couple sweatshirts for them, and we just kind of do it that way.
Can you talk about, of course, as football season just wrapped up, what was the game days like as an equipment manager?
Well, Brandon, this year it was really challenging. The best way to do this job and not get caught up into the pandemic is to assume that you're going to play. And if you don't, then you don't. Our last game of the year was at Wake, and I did my normal routine of flying up Thursday on a commercial flight to Salem Winston. We got a hotel. The truck drove up Thursday, and we got up Friday morning and unpacked it. And about an hour into unpacking the semi at the Wake Forest locker room, I got a text message from the medical people saying, slow down on unpacking. And within 30 minutes, the game had been canceled. So we packed everything that we had packed in the locker room back up, put it on the truck, and came home. And that was our season. So this year has been a challenge. I wouldn't call it anything negative. It's the world we all live in. And if me unpacking a truck is the hardest thing about this job, and I've got a pretty easy job because there's a lot more people dealing with a lot more serious, harder issues than if we play a game or not. And it happened a couple times at home where against Clemson, against Virginia, where we were setting up, locker room was all set up to go, and we got the news about 2 hours before the players were going to show up to the locker room. So it's just one of those things that we just do our job, and until we are told different, we assume we're going to play. That's the best way to doing it. You can't wait and see what's going to happen because there's just too many details that you have to do. You have to assume that you're going to play, and then if you don't, it's very easy to take down the locker room. It takes a lot less time to take it down than it does to set it up. So that's not a big deal. But we work within the framework of what we're dealing with in the pandemic, and my staff did a wonderful job with it.
On average, do you normally go the day before the game starts to prepare if it's a road game?
Yes. I always have to go 2 days before because I'm the one that has to be there. So when they land on Friday, the day before, everything's put into place. Coach will swing by the locker room. He'll bring the players in. The players will look at where their lockers are. So when it comes Saturday morning, they're not all going, hey, where am I? Because, you got to remember that there's 75 players that are traveling and they're all looking. So when you got 75 people bumping into each other, it's kind of a distraction. So we try to do that on Fridays when they land. They'll usually come straight from the airplane to the locker room and just quick find out where their locker is so they know the next day when they walk in the locker room, and just try to make this routine based as possible so they can focus on the details to do their job. So yes, the answer to your question, yes, I always go up at least 2 days before the team, and the team always goes up the day before.
What is it like whenever you're on a road game and going to the different locker room? For example, let's say whenever you come to Carolina, what is that like for you?
Well, Brandon, fortunately, I've been to every locker room in the ACC, so I know what to expect. And each locker room has a different personality as far as the way the lockers are set up, the way how many is set up and how big they are. They all have their own identity. And I try to keep consistency. I try to set the locker room up every time, as close to the same as I can everywhere we go. And it's not that hard. Every locker room you can work with. Some are nicer than others, but you just got to make it work. And certainly that can never be an excuse as to being distraction enough to lose. That has nothing to do with winning and losing. So,
what advice would you give upcoming future equipment managers looking to get into college football?
I would say embrace the grind, learn from it, make it a passion. If it's not a passion and it is a grind, then you probably shouldn't be doing it, because I feel like I've never worked a day in my life because I love it so much. So, and that's why I've done this for 34 years, because it's such a blessing, and I don't feel like I'm working. I would be here for free. Don't tell anybody that. I don't want them to cut my pay. But I love this job. I love this profession. And I know I don't have very many years left because I'm getting to be an older guy, but I've enjoyed every second of it. And as for the younger generation, it's a wonderful profession. People need to know, get into it, that there is a sacrifice of family time. Thanksgiving and Christmas are days that, especially in college, that those are holidays in the past 30 years that I've probably been able to celebrate maybe 4 times, each of them, maybe 4 times. So, going in, having a family or a significant other in your life that understands that you've signed up for this profession, that there's some sacrifices, that you're going to miss. You're probably going to be working on Thanksgiving and Christmas both if you're working in football.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with, of course, the Equipment Manager program?
I don't have much going on social media wise. As far as I would say the best advice for social media would be the AEMA, Athletic Equipment Manager Association. I know they have a page. That would probably be for anybody getting into this business. That's a very good organization for young people to be part of and get information on how to advance.
Thank you again, Darin, for your interview, and best of luck in your upcoming year.
Thanks, Brandon. I enjoyed every second of it. Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Darin, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.